Good evening and welcome to the council meeting of December 15th, 2025. This meeting is being live streamed on the Town of Kentville's YouTube channel. This meeting is called to order, and I note that we have quorum. Councillor Andrew is not here, but we do have quorum. Begin with land acknowledgement. I respectfully acknowledge that we are in the traditional and unceded land of the Mi'kmaq people. We honor their deep connection to this land, past, present, and future, and I also recognize and honor the contributions and heritage of African Nova Scotians whose ancestors have shaped and enriched this community for generations. Before we begin tonight, I just want to take a moment and wish everyone a very happy holiday season and a very happy and healthy new year on behalf of council and the staff at the Town of Kentville. This has truly been an extraordinary year in our community. This year something shifted in Kentville. We began to feel a renewed sense of momentum, a return of the community spirit, pride, and optimism that has long defined this town. We've shared many highlights and proud moments together, from working with the province to save the Kentville pool, to the incredible infrastructure upgrades downtown, to partnering with Kings County Academy to support their lunch program, and collaboration with our neighbors on a regional recreational facility and the possibility of a brand new Kentville rink. And there's much more to come. My personal highlight, though, is when my truck got towed during Apple Blossom. That'll always go down as one of my favorites. I'd also like to take a moment and thank our CAO, Mr. McNeil, who joined us 6 months ago and hit the ground running. His leadership and commitment has helped us guide where we need to be. These accomplishments reflect the strength, care, and collaboration of our community, council, staff, and partners. And I've never been so proud of Kentville and the people who make it such a great place. So finally, I always save them for the last. The incredible staff, you are the heart and soul of this town. And everything that makes Kentville run smoothly is because of you. Your dedication, professionalism, and care for our community are truly unmatched. We couldn't do this without you, and we are deeply grateful for all you do. So I want to wish each of you a joyful and well-deserved holiday season and a bright year ahead. So happy holidays to everyone. Begin by asking if there are any conflict of interest issues tonight that we should be made aware of before we begin. There being none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. We have a proposed agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or deletions? I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Maxwell and Deputy Mayor Kroll. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. We have a set of minutes from the November 24th meeting. Are there any changes to this set of minutes? There being none, we will accept those. These are the ones from, oh, right. I always forget. She's so efficient that we do them right on the spot, so hold on. I'll get used to that, okay. We'll begin with a presentation tonight from the Destination Management and Marketing Organization, and we'll invite Genevieve Allenhern up to the podium.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me present today. We appreciate the time that you're carving out in your agenda. I am presenting on a destination management and marketing organization, but we do not have a destination management and marketing organization yet. So just want to make that clear. This is work that came out of years of consultation with the tourism industry. So while this is a Valley Wren project, this is led by the tourism industry, and I'm working with a working committee of tourism leaders across the region. During the STAR strategy, which was our tourism strategy that we worked on from 2020 to 2023, we did 27 in-person consultations, and there was a survey that got 150 respondents. And from that process, what we heard from the tourism community is that we need an entity that can work to support our specific needs. And so that is why we are doing this work today. This is not something that kind of we pulled out of thin air. This is something that came directly from the request of the tourism industry. So I know that some of you were at the joint council session in September, but I will go over a couple slides just to bring everybody up to speed on what a destination management and marketing organization is. So it's a collaborative, industry-led body that brands and markets the region as a destination. It manages the visitor experience and tourism assets. It connects municipalities, businesses, and communities to work together with the goal of growing tourism sustainably while supporting local economies, culture, and the environment. So this is not something that we are suggesting would take the place of the wonderful work that the Kentville business community is doing. Bids still have an important place in that economic development layer cake. This is looking at marketing on a destination level. And so the rule of thumb in tourism is that for the amount of time it takes someone to get to a destination, you should give them 3 times that amount of things to do. So if someone is coming from Halifax, then they should have 3 hours of things to do while they're here. If someone's traveling from Truro, 6 hours. If someone is flying in from like Toronto, then you should have a couple days worth of things for them to do. And if they're coming from overseas, then at least a few days worth of stuff. We cannot do that just as separate municipal units. If we want people to be coming from outside of our province and internationally, then we have to work regionally in order for them to know the full suite of experiences that we have to offer. So destination management and marketing organizations are something that are funded in several different ways. We've researched organizations across Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, into Ontario, and a bit in BC. And what we have found is that all DMMOs we've researched receive some level of municipal support. And most we researched have a marketing levy. And if they don't, most of the ones that don't are working on implementing one. There's also a membership model, but I will say that no DMMOs we've researched rely only on membership. It's just not robust enough. There's not enough funding there. We projected that we could probably get about 40,000 in membership and guidebook ads. That's not enough to hire somebody to run an organization. So if there's membership, it's usually paired with something else like municipal funding, marketing levy, or both. There's also project grants that are available, but this cannot be used for core funding. So that is something that is leveraged for project grants. And then there's also other sources of revenue, such as funding from associations. So one really interesting example we saw was in Ontario, where one of their DMMOs gets some funding from their Home Builders Association, because their logic is if visitors are here and they really like it, they may want to move here. So those are the sources of funding that we have seen, and what we are recommending is that we start with a marketing levy and membership model. So we are actually letting municipalities a bit off the hook, because we're brand new at this, and so we are not asking for both municipal funding from your tax base and a marketing levy. We are asking that we start with a marketing levy to get us off the ground. So when I came on a year ago as the tourism strategy manager, my first task was to look at whether there is buy-in from industry for a marketing levy. So we led some consultations, and if we found that there just was no appetite for this, then we knew that we go to the no, which is an exploration of a municipal and membership DMMO funding model. But we know that that's not as sustainable or robust, because that's something that we'd probably have to come back to the 11 municipalities every year, a few years, asking for that money again. So we did find that there was enough buy-in from industry during those consultations to go to the next phase, which is where we are now. So we had that joint council session. You would have received this funding model report in your mailboxes. There's also a virtual copy on our website. And I'm presenting for each council now. So now we are looking at staff recommendations to council. And if it's a no from councils, then again, we're gonna have to go back and rethink what that funding model might look like. And you'll probably hear from us again, but we'll be asking for municipal funding rather than a marketing levy. If a marketing levy is approved, then we can get that DMMO off the ground. But in the meantime, there is some stuff that we are working on so that we can really hit the ground running once we do have funding. So one critical thing that we're working on right now is a brand strategy, so that we will have a shared story that we want to tell and a brand identity. We already have a website, and so we'll put those brand assets onto a website. We already have an itinerary app, so we'll put those brand assets onto the itinerary app. So right off the bat, we will have some things to offer the community once DMMO is off the ground. Okay, so in 2022, Nova Scotia amended the Municipal Government Act, granting all municipalities the authority to impose a marketing levy of up to 3% on the cost of registered accommodations. Under Section 75A, it says a marketing levy collected pursuant to this section may only be used by the council to promote tourism. And Section 75A6, the council may pay such portion of the marketing levy collected by way of a grant as determined by council to any organization formed to promote tourism. So that's what we are recommending for the DMMO. There are some exemptions for the marketing levy, and this is especially important for Kentville because you don't have any hotels or inns, but what you do have are short-term rentals. According to our data, you have 37 short-term rentals in the town, and there is a cluster around the hospital. So I would venture to guess that a lot of the people staying at those short-term rentals are there for medical stays or their student residencies. So there are exemptions for medical stays, and there's extensions for long-term accommodations over 30 days. There's also exemptions for emergency evacuations, accommodations for less than $20 daily rate, and student residents. So let me take you on a marketing levy journey. So I went to a conference in St. John's a couple months ago. In St. John's, they have a 4% levy. We cannot do 4% in our province. We're recommending 3%, but in St. John's, they have 4%. So then you see my receipt at the Alt Hotel. I spent 3 nights at St. John's, and every night they broke down on the receipt how much I paid for the levy. So it was really obvious as soon as I arrived at the Alt Hotel how that money was being used, because on their desk, they had a guidebook. This is something we do not have in the Annapolis Valley. The other thing that they have was a QR code so that I could go to their website and discover more. And then they had this beautiful website by Destination St. John's with lots of visitor information. So I could visit their blog and look at things like top 5 things to do according to locals. I could look at things to do like where can you go for happy hour, what sort of family-friendly things are there to do in St. John's while you're here, where should you stay, where should you eat, and then there's also an up-to-date events listing. So if you scroll all the way down on their website, you'll see their navigator tool. And so on the left, you'll see what is the visitor-facing resources that they provide. So things like planning your trip. So there's that pre-planning piece that's really important because people don't really know how long they should stay unless they know that there's a lot of things to do. So there's that piece, but then there's also all that destination management part of what Destination St. John's does. So that's kind of the behind the scenes stuff that isn't visitor facing. So that would be providing story ideas to travel media. That would be putting together packaged itineraries for travel trade, so like tour operators. They provide a guide, so if a tour operator, say, wanted to come to St. John's and have a packaged tour, they could show them places to go and have planned itineraries. I see this as being a big potential for cruise ship day trippers here in the valley. Excuse me, it's very dry. And then they offer a lot of support for major events. So they will put together bids for major events. They'll do economic impact reports for major events. They'll provide listings of venue capacity and that sort of thing. So all of that is also under Destination St. John's. And then there's a lot that they're not showing here too, like professional development support, product development and experience development support, the networking that happens and the collaborations that happen. So what regions have a marketing levy? Right now, over half of all the municipalities in Nova Scotia have a marketing levy. And by my calculations, about 16% over top of that are working on implementing a marketing levy. And about 14% of the places that do not have a marketing levy are in the Annapolis Valley. Only Annapolis County has a marketing levy. So add it all up, it's only about 14% of municipalities that just don't seem to be either working on one or have one. So most of the province will have a marketing levy. What regions have a destination management and marketing organization or a tourism association? Let's take a little trip around the province. We'll start with Yarmouth. So there's Yarmouth and Acadia Shores. They're funded by municipal funding and a marketing levy. We have Digby Area Tourism Association, municipal funded and marketing levy. We have Nova Scotia South Shore Tourism Association, that's municipal funded and membership. And they also have several municipalities that have implemented a marketing levy. We have Escape to East Hants, which seems to be the only one that perhaps is funded through their Chamber of Commerce. This is something that we did do in the Valley as kind of a gap filler for a few years. But once they had new leadership, they decided it wasn't under their mandate and they stopped doing that. So it's not a sustainable model. We have Discover Halifax, municipally funded and marketing levy. Explore Central Nova Scotia, municipally funded marketing levy. Cumberland is municipally funded and they're looking at a marketing levy. Coastal Nova Scotia is municipally funded and some municipal units have a marketing levy. Cape Breton Island, municipally funded, marketing levy. Annapolis Valley is the only region in Nova Scotia without a tourism association or DMMO. However, we are the second largest tourism region in the province. Out of the $3.5 billion that come in for tourism revenue in the province, we see 23% of that. And so we're the largest outside of HRM. However, we're not supporting our tourism operators. We're kind of putting it on the backs of them to do destination marketing for us. So why now? We have a clear roadmap, a strategy is already in place, and this will guide the formation of a DMMO. We have strong momentum because we have tourism leaders and operators that are engaged, and many of them are ready to serve as founding board members. We have proven models across the province and beyond that have successfully implemented levies and shown benefits. And as you know, we have high potential here. The Annapolis Valley is already a draw for visitors, but there's many untapped opportunities for growth. So you do have your funding report. There's a lot in there about financial projections, framework design, that sort of thing, if you are interested in diving a bit deeper. For Valley Ren's part in this, you have me for another year to support progress on this. We'll continue to do stakeholder engagement and consultation, make the funding model recommendations based on industry insights. We'll communicate with stakeholders and municipalities. And on the municipal staff side, it's up to them to make the recommendation on whether to move forward on a marketing levy. And then we'll work with them to procure the levy bylaw and service agreement, and also get the remittance software for implementing marketing levy. Do I have time for questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Genevieve. Are there any questions for Genevieve based on this presentation? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Genevieve. Thank you for your presentation. I was there in September for only a portion of the joint session. I had another engagement to go to, but what I heard was very good, and I really like it. I'm just wondering how the other municipalities are receiving this in terms of, like, are they liking it? Are they doing well with it? And then I'm just wondering about the other towns and municipalities, you know, Kings and Wolfville. what's happening with them? And then finally, how does our bid, KBC, how does it become incorporated with this DMMO?
Yeah, so how are they receiving this? So what sort of response I'm getting
Yes.
from other councils? So I presented for West Hants so far, and they, at that meeting, voted on continuing to gather information, and we're meeting again in January to see what we can do to move forward. I also met with Glues Cup First Nations, and they are interested. No, they don't have any accommodation operators at this point, but they do have future plans for accommodation, so they are interested. I haven't presented for the other councils yet. I am working with their staff and CAOs, but in terms of response from council, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of working with KBC, so, I mean, it's just like how in the economic development, KBC works with Valley Ren, KBC works with the Chamber of Commerce. It would be the same sort of relationship.
Okay.
So I would work with Julie to say, you know, what sort of things do you want to highlight in Kentville? You know, we're putting out a big campaign on what to do in the fall. We want to get Pumpkin People Festival in there. We want to get the Pumpkin Palette Pleaser in there. What else do we need to promote in Kentville? So we would be working with her on those sort of things.
And those types of events can be funded through this, correct?
Yeah, so
In a roundabout way, you know how, yeah.
exactly. It might be through grants.
Yes.
It might be through bid support. It could look like many different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm assuming we have the recommendation of Lindsay, yes? Yes?
Oh, I love it, yeah.
Good, okay, yeah. All right, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Genevieve,
Yeah.
for that presentation. You mentioned that KBC would have a role. I see them as a business connect more so. What about our community economic developer here and our recreation department? I think those would be important connects. Also, the Annapolis Valley Trail Association that runs the Harvest Moon Trail and has a destination website already for that. So would you be going beyond just KBC?
Absolutely, yeah. So you know I'm with the Trails Coalition.
Yep.
We've met a couple times and we have another meeting in a couple days. Just so everyone is aware, there are 3 destination trails in Nova Scotia and Harvest Moon Trail is one of them. And Destination Trails Canada is looking at how to get that more market ready and export ready. And so we are working with them. Absolutely, we need more like community linkages with our trails. So that's kind of where tourism comes in. So when people are using those trails, how can they also enter the communities? How do they know where there is places to stay or places to use the washroom or places to grab a coffee? And then the other piece, remind me, there was the Trails Coalition.
Our community economic person and our recreation department.
So Lindsay, so an example of how we would work with Lindsay is right now we are doing a tourism infrastructure and services gaps analysis. That work cannot be done without the involvement of municipalities. And so we went to Lindsay and the CAO and said, what are your priorities here? Lindsay sent me a list of priorities. We've contracted 21 FSP to do that work, and then we'll connect them back to Lindsay and make sure that that work is validated by the town. So anything that we do that would be like a recommendation to the region or would have some sort of impact on the region, we would bring the municipalities into the fold.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't see any more lights on. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So we'll move on now to our recommendations. We have item 5A, which is bylaw 202, reduced taxation. And the recommendation is the council give second reading to bylaw 202 respecting reduced taxation. Moved by Councillor Andrew and Councillor Savage. Is there any discussion on that? I'll call for the question then. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Next item is 5B, proposed sanitary sewer bylaw 203, regulations of connecting and discharging to the town sewer system. So the recommendation is that council give second reading to bylaw 203 respecting regulation of connecting and discharging to town sewer system. Moved by Councillor Savage and Deputy Mayor Kroll as the seconder. Any discussion? We'll go right to the vote. Voting is now open. You're always last, Rob.
I know.
Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Items 5C, pre-approval to order replacement single axle dump, plow and salt truck. So the recommendation is the council approve up to $400,000 for the purchase of a replacement single axle dump truck complete with dump body and plow and wing gear with delivery and payment not expected until late fall 26-27. And moved by Councillor Andrew and a seconder, Councillor Maxwell. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call for the vote. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Motion is carried. We have a recommendation from the Kentville Board of Police Commission that council approve the continuation of a one FTE constable position in the amount of $89,031 within the 27-28 operating budget, and further approve the addition of one FTE constable position in the amount of $92,815 within the 28-29 operating budget for the purpose of establishing 2 one-year full-time contract positions for Atlantic Police Academy graduates. Moved by Councillor Savage. Councillor Hamilton. You said you were, yeah. Any discussion on that? There being none, we'll go right to the vote. Voting is now open. You're gonna vote. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Now we move on to recommendation to repeal policy G34. The recommendation is the council repeal policy G34, temporary development officer. Moved by Councillor Savage.
Second.
Councillor Maxwell. Any discussion on that? We'll go to the question then. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. We have another policy recommendation to repeal policy G60, so that the recommendation is that council repeal policy G60, styrofoam products restriction. Moved by Councillor Savage. Councillor Andrew is a seconder. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call for the vote. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Move on to policy 104, public consultation. The recommendation is the council approve policy 104, public consultation. Councillor Savage, Deputy Mayor Kroll. Any discussion? Everybody's so quiet. We'll call for the vote then. Voting is now open. Voting is closed, and the motion is carried. Did you mean to vote yes?
No, I was just clicking repeatedly to try to get it to go, but I did not intend to vote. No.
So you wanted yes then? You can still, yeah. He meant yes, yeah. You weren't just clicking random. No, that's what I thought you meant. Whichever one works, right? So we'll move on to 5H, Policy 105, Expenses and Hospitality. The recommendation is that council approve Policy 105, Expenses and Hospitality. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kroll and a seconder, Councillor Andrew. Any discussion? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the CAO. So under section 6A, professional development approval. Both council shall allocate an amount in the operating budget for professional development for council staff and community committee members. So I'm assuming those, is that one lump sum or will those be 3 different line items? That's my first question.
They will be somewhat different because council's allocation will be a certain amount, and then like the police commission may have their own separate account.
Okay.
But there's probably, depending on the nature of the committee or the commission, there may or may not be money in the budget separate from those.
Okay. 6B, the annual budget allocation for council members, and then there's a specific reference in there to FCM, so the mayor, CAO, and up to 2 councillors for FCM, and then there's, as well as allocation for each member to attend. So again, I'm wondering, is the FCM piece, like, is it all in one, or is FCM different? And then there's another line item for whether it's NSFM, whether it's courses, whether it's whatever.
The current system is FCM is budgeted under one line item, and other training is budgeted separately, and I assume, unless there's direction from council different, that would be the same going forward.
Perfect, great, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. You're gonna have to guess again, John, or Councillor Andrew. All right, voting is now closed and the motion is carried. The next recommendation is regarding policy 106, that council approve policy 106 proclamations. Someone, Councillor Savage, and a seconder. Nobody, okay, Deputy Mayor Kroll. Any discussion on that? If there's none, we'll call for the vote. Voting is now open. And voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. We have a recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee regarding the proposed heritage designation of 6 heritage sites, and the recommendation is the council give consideration to adding the following 6 heritage sites to its registry of municipal heritage properties, and prior to doing, provide the required notice to each property owner. Heritage Center, former CN rail station at 66 Station Lane, Cornwallis Valley Rail Bridge, north of Shanix, Dominion Atlantic Rail Bridge, north of the Curling Club, Main Street Station, former Cornwallis Inn, 325 Main Street, Stagecoach Inn Properties, and Oak Grove Cemetery at 95 Main Street. Someone could move that?
So moved.
Councillor Maxwell, and a seconder, Councillor Baker. Any discussion? If there's none, we'll call for the vote. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. We have a recommendation that council give first reading to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to redesignate and rezone 153 Belcher, PID 552-65250 from residential 1 and 2 unit dwelling R2 to commercial highway C2 to permit the relocation of an existing dental clinic. Councillor Savage. Second. Councillor Andrew. Any discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. And voting is now closed. Motion is carried. This is the long one. So we have a recommendation that council give first reading to the following amendments to Kentville's municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to amend D1 Draft Municipal Planning Strategy Policies 5.14 Program-Based Housing. Policy RS 28, it shall be the intention of council to recognize program-based housing, including supportive housing, transitional housing, and emergency shelters as residential uses providing lodging. Policy RS 29, it shall be the intention of council to enable program-based housing as of right within the medium-density residential R3 zone, subject to the land use bylaw standards that ensure the form, scale, and intensity of developments are compatible with surrounding neighborhoods. Policy RS 30, it shall be the intention of council to include standards within the LUB regulating occupancy, establishing minimum separation distances, and requiring buffering, residential form, and appropriate site design. Larger or specific projects may be considered by development agreement where warranted by scale or service complexity. D2, draft land use bylaw framework, R3 zone, add to permitted uses, program-based housing. Part 5, residential zones, 5.1, general provisions for all zones, 5.1.14, site plan criteria for program-based housing developments, maximum of 12 units or sleeping rooms per lot, minimum 60-meter separation between program-based housing uses, residential form and scale consistent with surrounding dwellings, no exterior signage identifying client type or program, general criteria in accordance with section 5.1.12 of this bylaw. Councillor Savage and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Kroll. We'll open the floor for discussion. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under 5.1.14, I see point A, maximum 12 units or sleeping rooms per lot, after which the applicant would have to apply for a development agreement or a site plan, or?
We'll invite Director Shoup up.
Thank you, Director.
Happens to be right there.
Be above 12 units, it's by development agreement.
By development agreement.
What's proposed.
And while you're still there,
Sure.
under point B, 60-meter separation between program-based housing unit uses. So if someone were offering transitional housing, I must, hang on a second, I need to go make sure I have the right terms here. Okay, if an organization is providing supportive housing and an emergency housing on the same site, do they then have to go and find another dwelling place for the other program 60 meters away? Or are they allowed to have all three program-based housing programs on the same site?
My interpretation, we could break that down a little bit further maybe, but it'd be between sites. So you'd be permitted to have uses. So it's plural here. So
Yeah.
So we would look at having the next whatever site it would be at least 60 meters away to maintain that separation distance. But you could have three within one.
You could have three different programs within the same
That's my quick
site.
interpretation.
Okay, yeah, mine too, just wanted to clarify. Thank
Yeah.
you, Director.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a comment with respect to this. So I know there's been a lot of discussion around this at our public participation meeting. I do feel it's in the best interest to permit this amendment to go forward to a public hearing. And just to reiterate again that once we have the opportunity to hear from the public, that there are changes that can be made to this document, should we deem that necessary after we hear from the public at the public hearing.
Just a quick response to that, if I may, through your worship. I did mention, and I did respond to a very similar question when last this came up, and I should have made the point that we could do very minor changes. If we make a significant change to the existing, should it go through first reading tonight, then in my opinion, that would send it back to start all over again, basically. So there could be no significant changes beyond tonight. And yes.
If you can, I know it's kind of on the spot, can you give me an example of a minor change to the document as presented?
I would, off the top of my head, I would think typos.
Okay.
It's like
I'm sorry,
very,
didn't-
very minor changes. It can't change the basis of it being considered in the R3 zone. There may be some a legal nuance that we missed that we might want to consider prior to going forward, but
60 meters to 50 meters, maybe, right
a
there.
very minor
There's your
change.
minor change.
a very minor change.
Okay. So it's not just, it could be something of that nature? Yes?
I would leave that up to, maybe up to legal interpretation as well on what would be considered minor before I went too far with these, but
I am looking at the CAO as well,
Okay.
through you, to the CAO.
If you were to change it from R3 to R1,
Right,
you'd start over.
absolutely,
That's
agreed.
significant change.
Yep, okay,
But basic changes to the wording, the definitions, the number of units, the distances, development
Okay.
agreement, site plan, all
Yep.
those things are considered within the regular scope of changes and
Okay.
amendments.
Perfect.
You just wouldn't make a significant change.
no, understood, okay, thank you, and thank you, Director.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I don't have a specific question that I want to ask. I just want to say that I don't have enough information on the clientele that would be in these different housing options, that an R3 zone still has children living in that zone, and children very close by to that zone. And some of the things that, some of the issues that we're seeing with housing, I think that children should not be exposed to, if at all possible. I have serious reservations about putting, especially emergency, not supportive, not transitional, but the other type, in a residential area. And for that reason, I can't support this. Sorry.
Thank you. I don't see any more lights on, so we will call for the vote. And voting is now open. And voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. We have a recommendation here for council committee and commission appointments. So the recommendation is that council approve the following appointments to committee and police commission effective January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2027. Finance and Audit Committee, Councillor John Andrew and Councillor Rob Baker, Deputy Mayor Kroll. Bursary Committee, Councillor Baker, Councillor Savage, Alexander Fay, and Lori Bolland as the community representatives. Investment Committee, Councillor Savage, Councillor Baker, and Councillor Andrew. Planning Advisory Committee, Councillor Savage, Andrew, and Maxwell. Citizen Appointments, Scott Hearn, Louis Camo, and Jacob Zolowoski. Water Commission, Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Maxwell, and Deputy Mayor Kroll, and myself as Chair. Inclusion, Diversity, and Accessibility, the following citizens: Isaac Melanson, Bernie Zink, Kate Bowser, Kim Clark, and Matilda. I'm going to screw up her last name. I know who she is. We're going to say Matilda J. If she's watching. Police Commission, Councillor Andrew, Councillor Hamilton, Penny Hart, and Kim Clark. Valley Regional Services, myself, and alternate Deputy Mayor Kroll. Kentville Business Community, Councillor Maxwell. The alternate is Deputy Mayor Kroll. Annapolis Valley Regional Library, Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Andrew as an alternate. Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition, Councillor Maxwell. Kings Point to Point, Deputy Mayor Kroll. Councillor Hamilton as an alternate. Kings Regional Sewer, Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Baker as an alternate. Kings Regional Emergency Management Organization, Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Savage as an alternate. And Valley Regional Enterprise Network, Councillor Baker, and the alternate is Councillor Andrew. If someone could move that. Deputy Mayor Kroll, and a seconder. Councillor Maxwell. Any discussion? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, I just want to lead with a tremendous thank you to the nominating committee. It is nice to see things switched up a little bit. Actually, well, not a little bit, quite a bit. I think that, nice to see Councillor Maxwell going on to regional sewer and some switch ups with finance and also with the investment advisory committee. So I just wanted to lead with that piece. I did want to make a comment around the Board of Police Commissioners. So a lot of committees I've been on for a number of years, investment advisory and regional sewer and finance and audit, I have only held 1 year position on the Board of Police Commissioners. And so before this sort of started, there was a number of names that came forward for Planning Advisory Committee. And I had said that where there were 3 others that were interested, that I was happy to pull my name back from that. But I would respectfully ask that I be considered to remain on the Board of Police Commissioners for the ensuing 2 years. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if I can make an amendment or a suggestion. I know I would need a seconder. Maybe you could ask you.
You would, yeah, you'd have to make a motion. You need a seconder for that amendment.
Then that would entail me seeing who would be removed, and I'm not
Right.
comfortable with that part.
And then finding you another spot somewhere else too, so.
Yes. And I know that some councillors are more heavily weighted in some of the committees as opposed to the others.
I'll just speak for a second. When we worked as a nominating committee, we tried to move people around a little bit because we've been fortunate. I'm going to give an example. Yourself and Deputy Mayor Crowley are both very, scholared in finance, but that's rare. We don't always have people come in that are that in tune with some of these committees. So we were fortunate, but it's nice to get a full spectrum of all the committees. So we tried to do some moving around, and that's what we ended up with. Do you want to leave that for now then, or?
I will leave that for now.
Okay.
Perhaps somebody else will want to.
Okay, all right. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I believe that there should be diversity in our committees, and I believe that the entire police commission is all female, and I believe there should be diversity on that commission. So that's my point there.
Okay, thank you. Any Councillor Andrew?
I just, if I can just say a word of thanks to the deputy mayor, because I saw this and I was actually excited because it posed some challenges and took me out of my area of expertise in some ways. And so I immediately said, how do I educate myself? So she graciously took time and found some sources and directed those to me. So I'm happy to move forward, and I also, I understand it takes a lot of work to try to fit these pieces in this puzzle, and so I appreciate that, and anyway, I assume we'll have further ongoing discussion, and this is at the very least it's for a year, right? So
Yes.
Yeah.
2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. I think Councillor Savage, you're going to miss regional sewer. That's your, after how many years?
Yes, I was in my 9th year on regional sewer. So I see I'm on bursary as well. Yeah, I mean, I certainly can go on that, but I don't think it's really my area. But anyway, that's fine. I'm not really sure what else to say, so I will just leave it as it is and move forward with a smile on my face.
Any other discussion? No lights on, we'll call for the vote then. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. Next item is the lease of the former Kentville Railway Station at 66 Station Street. So the station lane that council enter into the proposed 5-year lease agreement with Kentville Historical Society dated December 15th, 2025 for 66 Station Lane, PID 554-96673. Moved by Councillor Savage and Deputy Mayor Kroll as a seconder. Any discussion on that? No discussion, we will call for the question. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you very much. You guys are just right on this tonight. Look. So we'll now move on to council reports.
Signed over here by my name.
Are there any questions for any members of council based on the reports in the package? Councillor Andrew.
Like I say, I did miss the email requesting reports, and I guess I kind of assumed, because in the past we hadn't had December meetings, and it wasn't until, I think you and I were chatting, and I opened my email and saw Councillor Hamilton saying, oh, I'll get that in, that I was like, and then, anyway, just with the day and kids home, I just, there was only a few things, and I'll just add them to my next report.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. It was a short,
It was.
short period anyway. So those reports are all in the package. We will now move on to public comments. If there are any members of the public that would like to come up and speak to us, come up and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak to us. Last call for the year. I guess there are no public comments. So that concludes that part of the meeting. Council has confidential matters that we must deal with in a closed session, so we require a motion to enter into a closed session. We will not be returning to YouTube after, so if someone could move that. Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Savage as a seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried.